What's up, guys? I'm Jared Lloyd, and welcome to the Wind River Mountains. This is home to the largest population of bighorn sheep in the world. I'm up here for the next couple of weeks with my buddy Doug Gardner, and we're going to be searching for these bighorns and any other sort of wildlife that we can find. And this right here, by the way, this is Behind the Lens. So during the summer months, the sheep tend to spend their time up above 10, 11,000 feet. You can see up here behind me in the mountains. Once we get into late fall and the snow starts to accumulate in the high country, those sheep start to push down to lower elevations. Where we are right now, even though we seem to be on top of the world at this moment, and it did take us an hour and a half of driving up a mountain to get here, this is actually considered to be critical winter habitat right here. And so slowly but surely over the coming days, now that we have snowfall, these sheep are going to start to spill into this area where they're actually going to prepare for battle, or what you might call the rut. So we spent the morning up above tree line searching for bighorn sheep, and it hasn't been successful yet, but my God, it is beautiful up here. Well, we finally got the snow that we've been waiting for. Day after day, we've been driving up into the high country. There hasn't been any sheep, but last night we got several inches down in the valley, and I think that there's a few feet that fell up in the mountains. And so we're going to do our best to try and get up there, but have no idea what we're going to find ourselves into once we start climbing up through this forest and up above tree line. So I think we've climbed about as far as we can today in this snow here. The forecast last night was 2 to 4 feet up in the mountains, and although that's exactly what we've wanted in order to start pushing the sheep down, I just don't think we're going to be able to reach them this way. At this point, with this much snow, we're actually going to have to wait on the sheep to come down to us to lower elevations. So I think we're going to need to change plans here and head back down into the sagebrush to look for other animals. I mean, luckily this is Wyoming we're talking about here, so there's a lot of different things that we can photograph. So I think that's going to be our best bet now, and the real question is, can I find a place to turn around, or am I going to have to back down this mountain for several miles? That situation you had with those 2 bucks when they came together, and that was insane. I mean, what happened? All I heard was the antlers coming together from when I was around the bend there.
And unfortunately, I didn't get that part on camera. Yeah, but you know, the thing about video is that you get to see the whole story unfold right in front of you. And what basically was happening was that I had this, a respectable sized buck. He was messing around with these does, and all of a sudden he just quit all that behavior, all of his attention on finding a doe and estrus, and it's just like that didn't matter anymore. All of a sudden he stood up, very alert, looking back over a hill into a draw, which I had no vision on. And then, just experience said something more interesting has got his attention. So that's probably another big buck, one bigger than him. And so I just kind of put the camera in that position and left some space from where he was looking, and within seconds you just see these larger antlers start coming up over the hill. And when I could see his whole face and his head, I knew then he was the boss in the area, because he had his ears completely laid back. I mean, he just had snot dripping out of his nose. Yeah. His neck was so swollen. It looked like he was going to explode any minute. So he was in full rut. And so I knew what was about to take place. And the smaller buck, he just kind of went off to the side, getting out of the way, and as they started to turn and go back over the hill, I knew I was in the wrong spot. And so I was scrambling, trying to get down the hill a little way so I could look back up the draw. And while I was moving, I just heard just them going at it, fighting. So
that was the fight that I heard.
That was the same fight that you heard.
Yeah.
You were kind of out of view as well. And so, yeah, but you can't get it all. But, just seeing that behavior, I mean, I've never seen a buck that much into the rut. I mean, with his ears that far laid back. I mean, that's moose behavior.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for in moose when we're working around those guys. So, those ears dropping down off to the side like that.
Yeah, but that's the wonderful thing about video. I've shot stills all my life, and then now the video, and I just love video because of that. So you can watch everything unfold instead of having to try to tell the whole story with one image. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, experiences.
Well, and I think that what you said about how you started to notice this change in the behavior in the smaller buck, I think that says a lot. So much about wildlife photography and videography is about being able to anticipate behavior. And that's why, I always like to say that, the better naturalist you are, the better wildlife photographer you can become, essentially. And it was your ability to be able to read that situation and read that behavior that you're watching to know, okay, I need to get ready, I need to prepare for this, something else is getting ready to happen here.
And a little bit of luck.
And a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
That was awesome, man.
It was.
All right, as luck would have it, we've actually come across a few moose out in the sagebrush. Now we're probably about 300 yards away from right now. I went ahead and stopped the trot and got out, and I wanted to shoot this little clip here to kind of explain what we're going to be doing. This is somewhat of a sensitive situation. We have 3 bulls that are hanging out together right now, and we're moving into the post rut. This is a time period when the bulls have stopped fighting over the hearts and minds of the females, and they've started to group back up again into bachelor groups. But a lot of the, let's say, residual hormones are still pumping through their bodies. So it can be somewhat dangerous. And so that's why I wanted to kind of get this out of the way before we try and slip in closer to them with a 600 millimeter to try and photograph them from a safer distance. Hi guys, well welcome to wildlife photography. You can spend an entire year planning and doing your homework and research to try and make sure that you show up at the exact right time for something like these bighorn sheep. But what you cannot do is control the weather that occurred before you showed up. So this past October, before we got into town, this area was seeing 60 and 70 degree temperatures, and there's just no way that these sheep are going to come down in that sort of warmth. It doesn't actually matter if we've got snow on the ground today, and I can guarantee you these sheep are on their way down here. It's just they haven't arrived yet, and that's the nature of wildlife photography right there. Lucky for us, we had plenty of other incredible wildlife opportunities to take advantage of out here. We had moose, we had mule deer, we had swans, we had grizzly bears, we had coyotes, we had incredible scenics and beautiful drone opportunities out here for us to work with. So by no means was this a disaster or was this a failure. And technically speaking, we actually did find bighorn sheep. It just wasn't a whole lot for us to work with, as you can see right here. That's just enough to make you want to come back for next year. Did you enjoy this adventure? Make sure you subscribe, because we're going to keep bringing you more behind the lens.